Yo, to Shifty Crew. What is good with y'all today? It's your boy B with the Shifts today. We got 5 most disturbing audio recordings by Chilling Scares. We did a horror reaction yesterday, but who really cares? We got another one today. Make sure y'all follow my Twitch, twitch.tv/Bwithdashifts. We're live every day at 8 p.m. CT. And make sure y'all like and subscribe as well. Go join my new Discord server. And let's get straight to it, man.
23rd, 1961. Two brothers inside an abandoned German bunker in Italy sat down to listen to the empty static of space.
Okay.
Over the years, they had pulled all kinds of strange sounds from that static. But what came through their headphones on this particular night had the potential to change the entire history of space exploration. What they heard was the voice of a woman speaking in Russian.
Oh my, okay. It's kind of crazy, but it's fine. What in the world? Okay.
The full transmission lasted a
I'm
little
worried.
over 2 minutes.
I don't know what's going on.
Throughout it, the woman repeatedly called
no
for the
idea
person
what's
on the
going
other
on
end
there.
to answer her.
Okay. Wow. What is she saying? 111? How do you even make that out? Like, what?
As the transmission
Makes no
continued,
sense,
she
man.
began
Sorry.
mentioning her breathing and oxygen.
Okay. She's breathing oxygen, obviously. I mean, what else can you
Soon
breathe,
after
woman?
this, her words became far more alarming.
What else
She
can you
claimed the
breathe?
temperature was rising and repeatedly said that she felt hot, like she was in some sort of immediate danger.
I'm gonna turn this up a bit, yeah. There we go. It's too hot here. Bro, it's space. Isn't space supposed to be cold? I swore
And
space
near
was
the end of the
cold.
recording, she said she could see a flame and asked whoever was on the other end
flame?
whether she was going to crash.
Oh, how's there flames in space? It's cold in space. What? It's crazy, man. It's too hot here, dang. That's tough. Hey, get you some water. Gotta stay hydrated, man. Okay, 40. I'm listening, bro. We can't hear you. It's too hot here, man. If you would stop yelling, maybe the heat would
And
drop.
with that, the transmission
I don't know,
abruptly
man.
ends. The two men listening
I
were
don't know what the
Achille and
point of that was.
Giambattista, amateur
Okay.
radio operators who had built a tracking
Wow,
station
wow.
using military surplus equipment, chicken wire,
Wow.
old pipes,
Chicken
and dishware.
wire?
But despite its
Chicken
homemade
wire?
construction,
Okay.
the brothers were far from inexperienced. Over the years, they had
okay.
successfully tracked signals
Wow.
from the first artificial satellite, the first U.S. satellite, and
What in
even
the
the heartbeat
world?
of the first dog sent into orbit.
They sent dogs into space? No, humans deserve to die. All of us deserve to die. You, not me though. I don't deserve to die. But the rest of y'all can go. This is top tier evil. This is like a Disney villain. Whoever made the idea to do this. This is evil, man. Whoever did this, I hope they rot in hell, man. I hope they do. That's sad. We don't need to know what's in space. I don't care what's in space. If we're sending dogs up into space, like, bro.
In other words,
We
their
don't need to
station
see the
had become one
moon.
of the most
Who cares
capable
about the
amateur
moon, really?
space tracking
I mean, bro,
operations
we
anywhere
can't
on
live
Earth,
there, so who
which
cares?
is exactly what makes the recording
Like,
of the
we're
woman
just
speaking
sacrificing
Russian
dogs?
so difficult to dismiss.
At least
The voice
sacrifice
had appeared on
possums or
frequency the
something.
brothers associated with Soviet
Like, bro.
spacecraft. However, unlike the beeps and
That's so
telemetry they
stupid,
normally
man.
intercepted, this was
That's what I'm
unmistakably
saying.
a human being who appeared to be in serious trouble. From
Aw,
the
I'd
translated
rather
words, the brothers
sacrifice
claimed they were
human
hearing a
beings than
Soviet
dogs, I'm
cosmonaut
not
trying to
gonna lie.
contact ground control
'Cause
as the
humans
fire
have a
spread throughout her
choice to go up there.
spacecraft and she began burning during the descent back to Earth. And
Wow.
they believed they had
That's
intercepted
tough.
a transmission the Soviet Union never intended the rest of the world to hear.
my.
But as soon as
Wow,
they made the
okay.
recording public, that explanation ran into several major problems.
Wow, okay.
This transmission was supposedly captured only 6 weeks after Yuri Gagarin became the
okay.
first officially recognized human being in space. If the
Wow,
brothers were
man.
right, the Soviets had launched another crewed mission
he
almost
died.
immediately afterward. Only
We're
this
just
time with a woman
sacrificing
aboard.
humans, man.
That would
Wow.
mean Valentina Tereshkova,
crazy,
who
man.
flew in 1963, wasn't actually the first woman in space. She was simply the first
Dang.
one who came back alive.
Wait, I thought Helen Keller was the woman in space. What the fuck? So they lied to us in history class. That's crazy, man. I thought Helen Keller was the one that went to space. That's wild, man. Wow, small world.
And for that to be true, the Soviets would have had to launch and lose another female cosmonaut, then erase the entire mission from
No,
the
she was
record.
the one that was blind.
To
I'm
many
pretty sure
people, this story was
drove a
simply
plane. That's
too
what it was.
unrealistic, and they chose to believe in a
mind.
much simpler explanation,
Never mind.
that the Italian brothers had made up the entire thing. Their earlier recordings had already brought them considerable attention, and critics believe this mysterious woman was merely an attempt to keep that attention alive. And one of the first objections the experts raised was the physical impossibility of the transmission. You see, as the spacecraft tears back into the atmosphere, the air surrounding it becomes intensely heated and ionized, forming a layer of plasma that blocks or severely weakens radio signals.
Dang.
This is exactly why mission control can lose contact with returning spacecraft for several minutes during the most dangerous stage of their descent. So, if the woman in the recording was already burning through the atmosphere, the brothers should never have been able to catch the transmission in the first place. But if we listen closely to the exact words the woman says, it leads room for another possibility. She mentioned heat and a visible flame while she was still asking clear questions and transmitting continuously. This could mean the capsule had not yet entered the full communications blackout. The rising temperature might have come from an electrical fire or a failing temperature control system inside the spacecraft rather than the atmosphere burning around it. That would also explain why she sounded more confused than terrified. She might still have been trying to understand what was going wrong, and the sudden end of the recording might have been the exact moment the plasma blackout finally cut her off. But the technical problem was not the only reason people doubted the tape. Over the years, many Russian speakers have argued that the woman doesn't sound like a native speaker at all. In fact, many have claimed that her voice carries an Italian cadence, which led many critics to believe that the brothers staged the recording with help from their sister, who was known to be learning Russian at the time. On top of this, a number of experts have also pointed out that the woman in the recording never used the formal call signs or communication language heard in genuine Soviet space transmissions. And digging through the official documents doesn't reveal a single mission record from that period that ever indicated that the Soviets were planning to send a woman into space in 1961. But strangely enough, this absence of documentation is exactly why this transmission may be real. As far-fetched as a secret dead cosmonaut sounds, the Soviet Union had a well-documented history of making inconvenient failures disappear from public history. There are cases going back to Stalin's era where individuals were physically painted out of official photographs as if they never existed at all.
Had to crop a couple of people out, they fucking up the photo. Hey, they took a TikTok trend in the middle of whenever this was made. Wow, they predicted a TikTok trend. That's crazy, man.
After the collapse of the USSR, declassified documents revealed multiple deadly accidents connected to the space program that had been kept hidden from the world for decades. These included the Nedelin catastrophe, where a launch pad explosion killed 78 people, and Valentin Bondelienko, a cosmonaut trainee who burned to death inside an oxygen-rich pressure chamber. Both these incidents occurred during the same period when the transmission of the woman was captured, and yet they remained completely hidden from the public until the 1980s. Now, none of this proves that the Soviets actually sent a woman into space who died and covered it up. But what it does tell us is that when something went wrong in their space program, they had both the means and the motive to make sure nobody ever found out. The Soviets were locked in a bitter race against the United States, and every successful mission was treated as proof that their system was superior. Admitting that they sent a woman into space only to burn her alive would have transformed a historical achievement into an international humiliation. With the press under state control, hiding the mission would have been far easier than admitting they had failed. So, if that is what happened, then this woman was the first female cosmonaut ever launched into space, and nobody was ever told. More than 6 decades later, the world still doesn't know her name. The only record she may have left behind is this 2-minute recording of her calling for someone to answer as the spacecraft around her grew hotter and her voice slowly disappeared into the static. On the evening of June 29th, 2017, a woman named Tara Bullis
Oh shoot, yep, there goes my Wi-Fi. Ah, y'all, we're back. My internet went out.
into the recorder, then noted that the man walking beside her had brought alcohol and was clearly drinking.
What in the world? Okay.
It's 6:46 on Thursday, June 29th. We're at the benefit for the walk, and Brent has a thing of alcohol, and he is drinking while he's here. So I'm thinking I'm just going to turn this on right now so that it's on while we walk. This is kind of ridiculous.
Wow, I feel bad.
What she didn't know yet was that the hidden wire she was wearing would become the key piece of evidence in one of the most disturbing criminal cases Illinois had seen in years. Tara was secretly working with the FBI to find the missing student, and the man beside her was Brent Christensen. He was the prime suspect in the disappearance of the woman whose benefit they had come to attend. Tara had already agreed to record several conversations with him, but so far none had given investigators the evidence they needed. Even as they moved through the crowd that evening, Brent initially said nothing that directly connected him to the case. But as he continued drinking, his attention slowly shifted toward the people gathered around them.
So weird.
So weird.
I don't even know how to process it. It's just, oh, there's people there tonight. I want her home safe. It's just...
And what he began saying next suggested that investigators might be dealing with something far worse than a single disappearance.
Wow.
They tell you. You have no idea what happened. Nobody know what happened.
Nobody will know what happened. And nobody will know what happened.
No, not even you. Like, I'm the only one who was happy.
Wow.
You're the only one. You're the only one that knows where she's at.
The woman Brent was talking about was 26-year-old Yingying Zhang, a visiting scholar from China who had arrived at the University of Illinois only 2 months earlier to research crop production. On June 9th, Yingying was traveling to an off-campus apartment complex where she planned to sign a new lease. After missing her connecting bus, surveillance cameras showed her walking several blocks to another stop and waiting for the next one. But shortly after 2 p.m., a black Saturn Astra passed her, circled the block, and returned. The driver stopped beside Yingying and spoke with her through the passenger window for roughly 1 minute. She then entered the car, and that was the last time she was ever seen. When investigators looked through the surveillance footage, they couldn't make out the vehicle's license plate, so they began examining every black Saturn Astra registered in the surrounding area. One of them belonged to 27-year-old Brent Christensen, who had recently completed his master's at the University of Illinois and had worked as a teaching assistant. At first, nothing clearly separated his car from the others. But when agents reviewed the footage more closely, they noticed that the vehicle in surveillance footage had a similar sunroof and damaged hubcap as Brent's car. When agents first questioned him, Brent claimed he had spent the afternoon at home, either sleeping or playing video games.
Okay, well, you originally told the agents that came to your apartment that you just played video games all day long. You didn't leave the apartment.
Yeah.
But it's fair to say that we know that that's not true, correct?
Why would I lie?
However, once investigators confronted him with footage of his vehicle moving around the university, his story began to fall apart. Brent eventually admitted that he had picked up an Asian woman near the campus, but according to him, he only drove her a few blocks before making a wrong turn, causing her to panic and demand to be released.
Okay. I was just driving around. I saw a girl, and she was...
He most definitely did it, man.
Dressed.
Okay.
So I stopped my car and looked at her. I asked her if she needed help and talked to her for a little bit. Not much. I gave her a short ride, a couple blocks. She freaked out and got out.
However, the investigators didn't believe him, as the location data from Yingying's phone didn't match his account of events.
And I think I've demonstrated enough, I've shared enough with you, that you know that I know that you didn't drop her off in that neighborhood.
Wow.
You know that we can follow her phone.
Wow.
But since they had no direct evidence that could establish what happened after Yingying entered his vehicle, they allowed Brent to leave the station without being charged. The FBI immediately placed him under constant surveillance and approached Tara, who was in a polyamorous relationship with him. She agreed to wear the recording device, hoping her conversations with Brent would either clear his name or finally reveal what he was doing. Over the following days, Tara secretly recorded him 9 times, but nothing he said in those recordings gave investigators anything solid enough to act on, until the two of them attended Yingying's benefit walk, surrounded by her family, friends, and hundreds of strangers hoping she would still be found alive. Brent finally revealed why he had come to the event. "I just wanted to see how many people were here for me." But during the vigil, Brent finally stopped speaking in vague hints. He took Tara's phone and typed 4 short messages, deleting each one after she had read it. "It was me. She was number 13. She is gone. Forever." These 4 messages transformed Yingying's disappearance from a missing person mystery into a murder case. And as Tara managed to keep him talking, he began describing how fiercely Yingying had fought to survive.
She was valiant. She was.
She would. She fight.
More than anyone else.
Really? A little Chinese girl?
Dang.
Anyone else.
Did she really have to speak English? Did she say anything to you?
Yeah. She fought more than anyone else I've ever met.
Brent continued to go into very graphic detail. But Ying Ying's murder was not the only thing he confessed to. He claimed he had been killing since he was 19, that Ying Ying was his 13th victim, and that the previous 12 had left almost no evidence behind. More disturbing.
Who the fuck is this guy? This guy is worse than Dahmer, Ted Bundy, everybody. No evidence left behind? Nobody knew about the victims? Yo, this guy is a cold-blooded killer. Future killers, take notes. Hey. The future disappointments of America, Canada, Brazil. Go ahead and take notes on this guy if y'all want notes, man. Hey.
Disturbingly, he said he still wanted to continue.
Wow.
Just the only person
Mm.
has produced evidence that he's
Okay.
number 13. Since I was 19. I still want to do it.
Wow, man.
My legacy.
The legacy is
crazy. He proudly compared
man.
himself to other notorious serial killers. By it, during these boastful statements, he made a claim that would go on to add another layer of mystery to the case.
Okay.
Family, you know, you're sometimes that they won't leave until she's found, until they can recover them. They're gonna leave empty handed because they'll never. No one will ever know.
Wow.
The FBI, you have a GPS in the car. You never knew. I was able to do this within hours. She's gone forever.
The FBI arrested Brent the following days. When investigators searched his apartment, they found traces of Ying Ying's blood in his bedroom.
Wow.
His trial began on June 12, 2019, in federal court in Peoria, Illinois.
That's crazy.
12 days later, the jury found him guilty of kidnapping resulting in death and 2 counts of lying to FBI agents. On July 18th, Brent was sentenced to life in prison without any possibility of release. But the sentence
put him in the cells, Diddy, man.
Part of Brent's plan.
Please.
Unfortunately, his prediction about Ying Ying's family returning empty-handed came true. Her body has never been recovered. And if Brent was telling the truth about having 12 earlier victims, he may have been just as effective at making them disappear. But so far, investigators have never found evidence connecting him to another murder. His defense argued that he'd been drinking and was exaggerating to impress Tara. But Tara testified that while Brent had consumed alcohol, he did not appear drunk. She said he seemed proud and excited while discussing the murder, and in the days that followed, he never once contacted her to take back what he had said.
That's
now,
crazy,
it is difficult to
I don't know
dismiss
why
the
he
claim
didn't just
entirely
kill
when you
her,
consider the
but,
tone Brent used to talk about his alleged victims. His voice never shifted into the dramatic, exaggerated tone of someone.
But you would think that a serial killer would know if somebody had a wire on or not, though. That's kind of stupid. You got no killer instincts, man.
Trying to sound dangerous.
I'm sorry.
He stayed calm, as though he was discussing something he had done several times before.
Wow.
If anything, Ying Ying's case is proof that he was capable of doing exactly that. Without a damaged hubcap and a girlfriend willing to wear a wire and capture key, disturbing audio, investigators would have nothing more than footage of a woman getting into a car. Whether or not there were really 12 others will likely never be known.
That's crazy, man.
Let's make it.
Right, we're good.
Every time I sit down to record, this
Call
happens.
the ad break, man. Let's go. Man, nobody wants a damn advertisement, man. How you gonna give me an ad 2 times in a row, man? Wait.
Almost anything just to hear their own voice on the radio. So when a producer passed along a caller claiming to have killed several people, no one in the studio appeared to take him seriously. In hindsight, there were reasons to take him more seriously than they did.
I got a guy on the phone who claims he's been killing prostitutes and he's wondering why he's doing it. So maybe he thinks I have an answer. Is this Ed? Ed?
No, this isn't Ed.
Also, it's something to rip him
any
on.
prostitutes?
My flag just ripped.
No, I never said my name was Ed.
Oh.
Wow.
Sorry.
That's okay.
What name do you use?
You can call me Clay.
Clay.
Yeah, Clay.
When Howard asked him about his supposed victims, Clay's answer immediately caught everyone off guard.
Okay, Clay, so what happened? How many prostitutes have you killed?
12.
According to him, these victims were often...
He goes for prostitutes? Wow, that's crazy. That's an ordinary killer, man. Only victims he ever goes after are prostitutes? I mean, bro, that's crazy.
Women who work the streets around New Orleans.
Wow,
and
man.
when the crew asked him
That's
about his
wild.
pattern of murder, he described horrific methods.
How else did you kill him?
Well, a few times, actually, most times with a hammer.
That's a hammer?
And where do you do this primarily?
I've done it twice in a parking garage. and then the rest of the time's on the side of the road.
Dude, you gotta
Side
have
of
a
the
lot
road,
of
man.
anger in you.
Wow.
Clay later said that he had been doing it since he
Okay.
was a teenager.
How old were you when
Wow,
you killed your
man.
first woman?
16.
16.
And you
Wow,
must be a
man.
powerful kind of guy, big guy.
Oh my.
I
Okay.
wasn't then.
Right.
Wow.
Howard immediately began searching
Dang.
for a reason that could explain such
Okay.
depraved actions, asking Clay about his childhood. But Clay rejected
Wow,
every
man.
possibility.
Did your mom
Wow.
beat you? Did your mom spank you?
Was your mom a prostitute?
No.
That's a
Actually, nothing
crazy
like
question
that.
to ask,
What is it
man.
then?
Wow,
I
okay.
think I just do it for the sense of the power.
Wow.
Right.
That's
Yet,
crazy.
the most
man.
unsettling part of the call wasn't what Clay claimed to have done. It was how little emotion he showed while describing it. At no point during the entire call did Clay sound like a person who was publicly confessing to 12 vicious murders. He talked more like a person explaining a habit he had stopped questioning long ago. He didn't sound ashamed and showed no obvious fear that the police might be listening. Even when Howard directly called him a serial killer, Clay responded
Dang.
with the same casual tone he had used throughout the conversation.
Is that him?
He went on to blame
Might
boredom
be,
as
I
the
don't
reason
know,
to
man.
commit these inhumane acts.
Okay.
Dude, you're a serial killer.
Yeah.
Yeah. You just want to kill.
I'm just bored.
The entire call lasted
Wow,
roughly
man.
17 minutes. Clay then hung up and was never
Wow,
heard from again.
okay.
So, the obvious question is the same one listeners have been asking for almost 30 years. Was any of this actually real? And the most convenient answer is no. You see, by that time, the Howard Stern Show had built its reputation around taboo-breaking comedy, outrageous
Dang.
guests, and phony phone calls. So, a man confessing to murder was, sadly, not out of the ordinary. And if you listen closely, there are moments when Clay appeared to struggle with his own story. For instance, when Howard pressed him on why the killings had supposedly stopped, Clay's story became noticeably less certain. He first blamed a broken down car, then admitted that this only accounted for 1 month of an almost year-long break, before vaguely putting the rest down to self-control.
No, but in all seriousness, I mean, do you think that you could control this? Do you think you can stop?
I think I have been.
Oh, you have been for the last couple of months.
A year he hasn't killed.
Oh, a year.
Wow.
Almost.
So why do you think you stopped killing all of a sudden?
I really don't know, Howard. I just... Part of it had to do with my car broke down.
No transportation.
Seriously? That's the reason?
Wow.
Well, that was the reason for a month, but after that, I guess it was all self-control.
Wow. But
So you don't want to do this anymore?
No, he wants to do it, but he's controlling
Wow,
himself.
man.
Like, you want to kill women, right?
Sure.
Wow.
Yeah.
Moments of hesitation like this made parts of the call sound like he was making up details as he went along. But, on the other hand, maybe it was simply Clay carefully deciding how much he could reveal without exposing his identity. Nonetheless, after the call was aired, federal agents turned up at the studio to collect copies of the audio recording, and immediately started looking into the possibility of a potential serial killer on the loose. However, I couldn't find a single reliable report or official statement revealing anything about the investigation. And to this date, there's been no public record that identified the real person who called the show. So, the only real way to judge his story is to compare it with the crimes he claimed to be describing. And when his confession is placed beside what was happening in New Orleans at the time, some of the details line up uncomfortably well. By August 1995, authorities were investigating 24 killings committed around the city over the previous 4 years. Most of the victims were vulnerable women who worked the streets, and many had been killed before their bodies were abandoned in isolated areas. Which means Clay wasn't describing some imaginary pattern of violence. Both the victims and the scale of the killings all lined up with a real investigation that was still unresolved when he called the show. But these killings had also been reported in the news before Clay called the show. So a prankster following the case could have taken the publicly known details and built a convincing story around them. That said, there was a man whose real criminal history appeared to fit Clay's story far more closely. His name was Russell Elwood, a former taxi driver from New Orleans. Russell had been questioned by the Serial Crime Task Force and was eventually charged with murdering Cheryl Lewis and Dolores Mack, two of the women whose deaths had been examined as part of the wider New Orleans case. During the investigation, multiple women also came forward claiming that he had picked them up in his taxi, attacked them, and left them in isolated areas. And because the location, the victims, and the nature of the crimes all appeared to match Clay's confession, several people online came to believe that Russell was the man speaking on the recording. This theory fits well, except the timeline makes it almost impossible for Russell to be Clay. Russell was arrested in Florida on August 4th, 1997 after purchasing drugs from an undercover officer. He remained incarcerated for the next 85 days. Clay's call aired 9 days after that arrest, meaning Russell was already in a jail cell when the call was made. So the voice in the recording almost certainly did not belong to Russell Elwood. However, ruling him out doesn't automatically prove that Clay was lying. Russell was convicted of only 2 murders, and no one was ever able to establish that a single person was responsible for every death being investigated around New Orleans. This leaves open the possibility that several killers were targeting similar women in the same area, and that Clay was describing victims who were never connected to Russell's case.
That's crazy.
But unfortunately, this is as far as the evidence goes. No victim has ever been conclusively matched to the details Clay gave during the call, and no major breakthrough has revealed the identity of the man behind the voice. So, almost 30 years later, the recording still comes down to 2 possibilities. Either a prankster studied a real series of unsolved murders and used those details to create an unusually convincing confession, or a serial killer openly admitted to murdering 12 women on live radio, hung up the phone, and was never identified.
Wow. That's insane.
On December 3rd, 2016, at 2:46 in the morning, police responded to a report of an abandoned car parked on the Route 35 bridge over the Shark River in Belmar, New Jersey. Nothing was wrong with the car. The keys were still inside, but there was no sign of the driver anywhere on the bridge or in the area below. Running the plate led officers to Lillian Stern. She was safe at home and explained that the vehicle was normally driven by her 19-year-old granddaughter, Sarah. Eventually, someone would come forward and explain exactly what happened to Sarah that night. But at this point in the investigation, that conversation hadn't happened yet. Sarah was a 19-year-old arts and TV production major at Brookdale Community College. The day before, she had spent the afternoon running errands with her childhood friend, Liam McAtasney, before stopping for lunch at Taco Bell. It was an ordinary day, except that it was the last time anyone saw her in public. The car had been left close to the edge of the bridge, and there were no obvious signs that anyone else had been inside. According to Liam, Sarah had previously talked about her life in a concerning manner. He also explained how she had an increasingly difficult relationship with her father. However, no one else who knew Sarah believed this explanation. One friend even told investigators that Sarah had made plans to see her that very day, which is hardly the behavior of someone planning to disappear. According to reports, Liam provided another possibility to investigators. He claimed that Sarah had talked about leaving New Jersey and starting over in Canada to get away from her father. The same friend Sarah had made plans with confirmed this theory. She told investigators Sarah had mentioned a Toronto trip and that she'd recently come into money that could finally
she wanted to go see Drake.
But when police searched her bedroom, they found her passport, social security card, and Canadian currency still there. If she had crossed the border voluntarily, she had left behind almost everything she would have needed to do it. The money her friend had mentioned came from a shoebox that Sarah had found inside a family property along with a note left by her mother before she died. Because much of it was old and damaged, Sarah placed a large portion inside a safe deposit box. On the day she vanished, surveillance footage showed Sarah visiting the bank with Liam to withdraw a portion of that money. When investigators later obtained the warrant to open the box, $25,250 was still inside. But a portion had been taken out that afternoon, and Liam had been standing beside her when she collected it. And he was also one of the last people known to have seen her alive. Then, in January 2017, a man named Anthony Curry contacted authorities. Anthony was a young filmmaker who regularly discussed horror movie ideas with Liam. So, when Liam pitched a disturbing plot on Thanksgiving night about a week before Sarah's disappearance, Anthony initially thought nothing much of it. According to Anthony, the story involved a young woman who had discovered money left by her deceased mother. Her friend would then meet her to count it, her, take the cash, and throw her from a bridge before abandoning her car. 1 week later, Sarah disappeared under almost exactly those circumstances. Anthony still hesitated to accuse someone he considered a friend, but Liam began repeatedly asking to meet and eventually sent him a Snapchat message asking whether police had questioned him. That was enough to convince Anthony that the supposed movie idea may have been a real plan. In search of concrete evidence, police wired Anthony's car as he drove up to meet with Liam on the 31st of January 2017. Unaware that he was being recorded, right after the two of them met, Liam made a horrifying confession that put all of the other theories about Sarah's death to rest.
This is for protection.
Oh, so we gotta add.
Can't blame me for doing this, right?
There we go, man.
I gotta fill you up real quick, alright?
What in the world? Okay.
No disrespect. I'll show you. No disrespect, okay? Nothing. Yeah, I got the FBI on my dude.
Wow.
Oh yeah, a lot.
Okay.
About what? About killing Sarah. Alright, so I'm hanging out with her. She has we went to the bank, she took some money out, not all of her money. We're counting it out, and then she goes to walk out the front door. My biggest problem was the dog, and her dog laid there and watched as I killed her. Didn't do anything.
Liam went on to describe the graphic details of every step of his process in depth. Not only did he show no sign of remorse during this whole conversation, but he was also showing signs of irritation that the cash was less than he expected. What he actually found was only a fraction of what he had hoped, and the bills were so worn that he wasn't sure a bank would take them.
So you've been laying low, I guess. Oh yeah. And not even, that's not even the worst part. The worst part of it is, I thought I was walking out 50 grand, 100 grand in my pocket. She had one safe, and she took money out, and she only had 10 grand. And this money, I don't know if it was burnt or something. It's old money, terrible quality. I don't even know if I can put any of it in the bank.
Police arrested Liam and his roommate Preston Taylor, who reportedly had assisted with getting rid of Sarah's body the very next day. Preston confessed almost immediately and led investigators to a locked safe at their residence, buried in the ground. It was opened using keys recovered from Liam's car. Inside the safe, police found around $9,000. At the trial, Liam's defense argued that the recording wasn't a confession, but instead an audition for a role in Anthony's films. But with all the evidence and witnesses present, the jury didn't buy the excuse. On the 26th of February 2019, Liam was convicted on all 7 charges, including first-degree murder, robbery, felony murder, and desecrating human remains. Later in June, he was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Unfortunately, Sarah Stern's body has never been found. On April 10th, 2018, a 16-year-old boy made 2 911 calls that were supposed to save his life. Instead, they became the recorded evidence of one of the most inexcusable failures a police department has ever been forced to answer for. The calls were made by Kyle Plush, who drove to Seven Hills High School in Cincinnati, Ohio to pick up some tennis equipment from the back of his family's minivan. The tennis gear was in the rear cargo, so Kyle had to put a knee on the third-row bench seat and lean over to reach it. Unfortunately, the seat flipped backward under his weight, trapping him instantly. His head was pinned to the rear wall while his legs were forced up against the van's back door. His arms were pinned down as well, which meant he couldn't reach his phone to call for help. So Kyle resorted to the only option left. He called out to Siri and asked to dial 911, and the call actually connected at 3:14 p.m.
Hello, Cincinnati 911. That is the address of your emergency. Cincinnati 911. I'm stuck in my van outside the Seven Hills parking lot. The Seven Hills what parking lot?
Wow.
I need help. Where are you?
He told the dispatcher he was trapped inside his van and gave them the name of the school he was parked at.
Wow, okay.
Can you hear me? Yes. Outside the Seven Hills parking lot. I'm trapped in my van.
Wow, man.
Where are you? I can't hear you.
The problem was, Kyle couldn't hear the dispatcher speaking to him, so he couldn't answer her follow-up questions. And although he repeatedly mentioned Seven Hills, the call was entered into the dispatch system several minutes later as an unidentified female trapped in a van in unknown trouble. The entry
dispatch
did not include
officer,
Kyle's
man.
name, the type of vehicle, or the fact that he was in a potentially fatal emergency situation. At 3:26 p.m., 2 officers arrived near the school. Based on the information they'd received, they were searching for an unidentified woman in an unknown van somewhere around several adjoining parking lots. They drove through the area for roughly 11 minutes and attempted to call Kyle's phone, but they never stepped out of their patrol car, and they did not check the northern lot where Kyle's gold Honda Odyssey was parked. While those officers were still nearby, Kyle managed to place a second call. This time he gave the dispatcher almost everything needed to find him. He identified the vehicle he was trapped in as a gold 2004 Honda Odyssey, said it was in the Seven Hills parking lot, and made the seriousness of his situation very clear.
This is not a joke.
Wow.
I'm trapped inside my gold Honda Odyssey van in the Southwood parking lot of Seven Hills Back.
Wow.
Send officers immediately. I'm almost dead.
Wow.
Kyle's breathing was
man.
becoming weaker, and knowing that he might not survive, he asked the dispatcher to deliver one final message.
Wow.
I probably don't have much time left to tell my mom that I love her if I die.
But none of those details ever reached the officers. When the dispatcher initially heard silence, she activated a teletypewriter connection intended for callers who were deaf or hard of hearing.
Anyone there?
Wow. Wow, man.
I can't hear what you're saying. Just send quickly.
Wow. Wow, man.
Instead of clarifying the call, the function drastically lowered the volume of Kyle's voice. The dispatcher did not switch back to the normal audio, replay the recording, or create a new entry in the dispatch system. So even though Kyle had now provided the exact color, make, model, and location of the van, the officers searching nearby were never told any of it. Eventually, they soon closed the assignment and left. Nearly 6 hours later, when Kyle failed to return home, his family used the location sharing app that showed he was still at Seven Hills School. His father drove there and eventually found the Honda Odyssey in the same lot Kyle had described during the second call. Sadly, by then, Kyle had lost his life. Soon after Kyle was found, the focus shifted from how he became trapped to why no one had reached him in time. Across 2 separate calls, he had identified the school, explained that he was pinned inside a van, and eventually gave the vehicle's exact make and color. Yet the police failed to save him. And that failure began with how the first call was entered into the system. It had been stripped of its urgency before officers were dispatched. Kyle had been incorrectly identified as a woman, his exact location remained unclear, and his repeated warnings that his life was in danger were reduced to the words, unknown trouble. As a result, the officers arrived without knowing who they were searching for, what vehicle they needed to find, or how little time remained. So, when they failed to find anyone in immediate distress, they began treating the call as though it might have been a prank. An off-duty sheriff's deputy working traffic nearby even suggested that the caller might have been a woman he had told to move her car earlier that day. But that explanation makes no sense the moment you hear the recording of the call. Kyle's voice was very clearly strained and panicked, and a call carrying that level of fear should have never been treated with doubt until officers had personally ruled out the danger. And even if the first call had been misunderstood, his second call should have erased any remaining doubt. Kyle gave the van's exact color, make, model, and location. Yet none of that information reached responding officers because the dispatcher later claimed technical problems had prevented her from properly hearing and documenting the call. According to her, the computer screen had froze, while the teletypewriter function made Kyle's voice almost impossible to understand. On the surface, that was a believable justification. The city's 911 system had a history of technical glitches that disrupted incoming and outgoing calls. But an internal investigation of the phone system for that call specifically found no trouble with it. The same review found that if the dispatcher genuinely couldn't hear him, procedure gave her a clear next move. She should have asked the caller to tap the phone twice, press a key, or switch to yes or no questions, all of which she never did. Which leaves only one explanation for Kyle's death. It was caused by a series of irresponsible choices made by the officers present inside the system. The department later reviewed the second call and described the way it had been handled as unacceptable. Not only had the dispatcher skipped the due process to ensure the caller received help, but she also never documented the call, violating yet another guideline. The Plush family filed a wrongful death lawsuit against the city and the employees involved, which was settled for $6 million in 2021. The system responsible for saving Kyle's life had failed him, leaving behind some of the most haunting pieces of audio ever recorded.
Wow. Make sure y'all like and subscribe. Peace out, y'all. Bye.